All right, guys. So Blood and Guts just concluded, and I'm here to tell you guys my opinion. My name is Ango. This is Destination Pro Wrestling. If you guys want to join our private Discord server, if you guys want to support the channel by becoming a champion, if you guys want to, get situated and join the family, it's very easy to do so. All those links are in the description. But I got to be honest with you guys, I'm not really interested in talking about Destination Pro Wrestling. I really just want to talk about Blood and Guts because this match, it fell flat. And it goes back to what I've been saying about AEW. They have done a really good job of building up storylines only for things to fall flat. And I really don't want to be in a situation where I'm being critical here, but of course that is kind of my job, right? To give you guys my opinion. And if you guys didn't know, Blood and Guts War Games, it's like my favorite match type in all of wrestling, especially because we don't get it too often. And of course, when AEW originally announced this match, I was super excited because we were going to have the Inner Circle versus the Elite. Because of COVID-19, that never happened. And the next best thing was a very good storyline that was presented to us fans from AEW that included the Pinnacle and, of course, the Inner Circle. And it made a lot of sense, and the match was really good. But that's the problem. A very good match like this needs to end the right way. We have to address certain things with this match because yes, the Pinnacle did win, and yes, MJF stood tall at the end on top of the cage, which was awesome. But there was a lot of mistakes that I thought were made in this match that from a fan's perspective, right? I know I critique wrestling and that's kind of my thing, but at the end of the day, if I'm bringing you guys my opinion, this is my favorite match type, right? This is better than Elimination Chamber, better than Hell in a Cell, better than TLC. I mean, better than Inferno matches. Like, this is literally the match type I like the most. I have to be honest and say I felt let down. And I'm not saying this in a way that comes off as a hater. I don't want people to get it twisted, but ultimately, I gotta just talk about how I feel. Look, the match was good, right? We saw a lot of chaos. We saw a lot of crazy, intense moments. We saw some really nice spots throughout the match. Sammy Guevara, Jake Hager, Wardlow. These guys definitely brought the intensity that this match type specifically requires. So kudos to all the guys in the ring for doing that. But the biggest problem here is what I've noticed more on like the logistics side of things. Camera angles, not really that good. Made it difficult to watch at certain times. Not to mention commercials during the match. Like, there have been times where WWE and AEW have gone commercial free for certain matches in the past year. And this one in particular, which is arguably the biggest match of all time in AEW history. I don't know if there's one bigger than this. If there is, let me know in the comment section. But to me, this is arguably the biggest match in AEW history. Having commercial breaks, and that includes picture in picture, it definitely messed some things up. More specifically, Wardlow gets introduced into the match, and obviously you can see what's happening because there's picture in picture, but Wardlow doesn't go on his streak of dominance because of the commercial. Then what happens is, as they're coming back from commercial, Wardlow is already wrestling these guys, and then there was a pretty nice spot that was happening, but we didn't get the full attention to it. We weren't attentive to it because of the commercials. Again, it's a logistics thing, right? So camera angles are kind of funky. We're starting to miss some certain moments in this match that you kind of need to see, right? It's the small things that you can't see or pay attention to because you can't hear the commentary. You can't hear what's going on. And of course, it's obviously downsized. So we're missing certain moments that are explaining certain things in the match. And because of the commercials, we are losing out on that opportunity. And then, of course, we go back to the one issue that I feel AEW has definitely not fixed, and that is their ability to build up programs only to have the match ending fall flat. Now, say what you will about WWE and their DQ finishes. I know AEW doesn't do that very often, but the idea of MJF being on top of the cage, threatening the Inner Circle that he is going to throw Jericho off the cage if they don't surrender. Like, logically, it makes sense, right? They obviously surrender because they don't want to see Chris Jericho get pushed off the cage. And I get what AEW is doing here. They want the big captured moment of MJF standing tall at the end. Regardless, MJF as a heel still pushes Chris Jericho off the cage. The problem is camera angles throughout this match have been very, very interesting, and I would say it's definitely hurt the match quality. But then we also get a moment where you can just tell that there's a crash pad waiting for Chris Jericho for when he falls. And the camera angle that's capturing this is exposing the fact that Chris Jericho is landing on some very significant padding. Completely fine that they want to do it safe. I'm not saying AEW should not be safe. However, they're making it noticeable. They also made it very noticeable with certain camera angles when people were blading themselves in the match. I love blood and guts. Like, I love War Games matches. I love this match type. But there are certain things that were easily noticeable that took away some of the realism and some of the chaos that's ensued with this type of match. And I think that's what hurt it from the fans' perspective. Look, MJF on top of the cage, it makes sense. Everything makes sense. Even the logic of them surrendering the match, it makes a lot of sense. Personally, I think it was just the logistics of everything and how it was covered and how it was presented that made it feel sloppy. And I hate being this guy, but I have to be this guy. If you're going to have a massive match like this on television, you can't, and look, I know you want to add money, but you can't do it. You gotta show the match in its entirety. And I know this is a first time in your company, but you need to learn from your competitor. WWE War Games matches always have emotion built into their matches, and I love that. This brought chaos, and I love that too. And that's why I love War Games matches. I know some people were critical of the chair shots to the head. Personally, I'm not a fan of those just because I don't think it's really worth doing. But ultimately, as a fan of pro wrestling, yeah, it's pretty cool to see everybody getting freaking smoked in the ring, right? Like, everybody's literally getting beat up. This felt like a real fight. They had some good moments, but there was just too many things, in my opinion, that felt flat. And that, for me, is a big problem. And when it comes to blood and guts, I really hope AEW learned from this. I hope that they're watching and listening to people's feedback, because it was such a good match, only to have a few small things ruin it. And those small things, they can't be happening, you know? Ultimately, when something like this happens, though, I do think AEW has learned from some of their mistakes, but this is a big one. You can't have these big moments only to be ruined by a bad finish. This is an ending, just, you know, maybe it's not as big of a deal as it was when, you know, Revolution happened. But of course, seeing that crash pad, it just took some of the realism out. And I think that's problematic. Personally, as a fan, I think that's problematic. I don't know. I don't know how I feel. Like, I love the match. Like, the match was good. It was just all these other things. It's tough. You know, I was talking to people on Discord, and, you know, it was like one of those things where it's like, oh, great spot, great moment. You know, somebody mentioned Sammy Guevara botched when running the rope or whatever. It's like, I don't care about botches. Like, that doesn't matter. Like, that's what's going to happen when you have a real fight going between people. You're going to mess things up. But you can't be botching the creative aspect of things, and you can't be botching the logistical part of things. Camera angles matter. You know, from a viewing experience, it was difficult. And then you throw in the commercials, it just kind of ruined it for me. But yeah, MJF stood tall at the end. My guess is MJF versus Chris Jericho at Double or Nothing, but who knows where they go from this. It looks like Chris Jericho actually might be legitimately hurt. Props to him for taking that fall. Even if there's a crash pad, that is not something I would do. And I'm totally cool with there being a crash pad. Let's not, you know, mistake what I'm saying. But of course, it didn't look real. And that's the problem, right? Like, this match had so much good brutality in it, only for that ending to just be very meh. Anyways, guys, MJF and the Pinnacle are now, they got the upper hand on the Inner Circle. I don't know what's next, but I'm very curious to see what happens. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below, and I'll see you next time.